As the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Cameroon jump on a daily basis, screening for the disease is also becoming an ordeal as it is laden with much bureaucracy and long waits to get tested and even collect the results. As the June 1 date for the special class resumption in the country draws near, parents are busy preparing their children for the fresh start, even as most of them are doing so perfunctorily rather than with enthusiasm and excitement. Ministers of culture from Africa resolve to put their heads together and save the continent's culture and artistic creation from being wiped away by the ravages of the coronavirus pandemic. Those are our lead stories. Hello, welcome to the program. I am Ben Menopufong, and this is the 7:30 News. And we begin straight away with news about the corona pandemic, where the next headache in the fight seems to be the screening process in Cameroon, which many have described as tedious. Apart from the much bureaucracy involved, the wait to get tested is a long, and receiving the results of the test takes yet another long wait. There is a lot of standing on the way to the screening, which is considered the biggest tool in fighting the pandemic. Beatrice Losamba registered the ordeal of citizens who have gone through the trouble of testing and reports that there is an urgent need to alleviate the suffering through the decentralization of the testing program.
It's been a long wait for these citizens who seek in earnest to get tested for COVID-19.
I came here yesterday. I came here around 10 a.m. I learned that that was late. I need to come very early, around 6 a.m. in the morning, to be part of the first 50 sets. But I had to come back this morning, and I still came late. I was like 7 a.m. The spots were almost occupied. I was like the 70th person. So we're still waiting.
But the ordeal of patients seeking to know their COVID-19 status starts long before they show up at the screening center.
Before coming here, I made the calls, 1510 and all the other numbers. And the responses that came, one of them was saying the field agents would come around after a tad bit of time.
I called 1510 severally and finally got to them. They told me the doctor was to get back to me, and to date, the doctor never did.
3 centers are licensed to test in Yaoundé, and according to accounts, each is allocated different categories of suspects: contacts of COVID-19 confirmed cases, and those who show symptoms of the virus are referred to this fixed screening center at the Yaoundé Central Hospital.
They're requesting that before you can take a test, you need to show a prescription from a medical doctor who says you should do a COVID test. They don't want to know whether you have symptoms or not. They just want to see a prescription that the doctor has asked you to do a test or something, or if you can prove otherwise that maybe you were quarantined before and stuff like that.
What I get over the radio and in the news is not what I'm seeing unfolding right here at the center. Because there are people seated, nobody's attending to, nobody's asking any question, people are coughing, the sanitary condition is not really, it's porous to me.
And the desire to get their minds free of the burden to know their COVID-19 status keeps them moving. This man says he's gone past screening and has been expecting his results for the past 12 days. He is in despair, he says. And reports say it's been routine queuing up for days to get tested, which exposes the need to ramp up testing, step up staff carrying out the test, and running the labs. Had to verify the above account, given that screening authorities prefer to keep their mouths shut. For now, visitors to these centers are not overly confident they have what it takes to attend to the high demand for screening.
And that's not all. Health experts and researchers have expressed misgivings about the outpatient treatment of COVID-19 sufferers, fearing the condition of cases may rather worsen. They, however, recommend a daily intake of considerable quantities of fruits for treated persons, explaining that this will help boost their immune system. Romeo Kenya tells us more.
When infected by the COVID-19 pandemic, outpatient treatment procedure cannot be granted due to the delicate nature of the disease, medical experts hold.
There is no outpatient treatment. There is treatment under confinement. You are not allowed to go out and come order to come to the hospital, and then you leave the hospital, you go back home. There is no ambulatory treatment. This is treatment under confinement.
Since outpatient treatment is forbidden, confinement medication is norm. During this period, one is expected to strictly follow the prescribed therapy.
Under confinement, the patient goes in a place and rests there while taking a prescription ordered by the doctor.
When treated and allowed to go home, is a stage of convalescence to be observed with proper care.
When you are declared cured, you have to eat substance which will increase more your immunity.
Apart from the coronavirus, other diseases undergo outpatient cure.
And as the number of the COVID-19 cases jump nationwide, more and more people are in search of any remedy that can give them relief. Topping the list of the most sought-after product is the Cleda herbal therapy, demand for which by far outweighs the supply at the Yaoundé Distribution Center. Beatrice Ngom visited the center and reports that the prelate's solution is a big-time crowd puller in the nation's capital.
This is Nkongwa Tom on the outskirts of Yaoundé. A team from the Yaoundé Archdiocese has pitched its 10th year for the distribution of the Cleda solution against COVID-19. Per day, the task force at the health facility says it receives an average of 100 calls plus a host of people on quest of the solution.
Since I have the solution of Monsignor Cleda, many people call me in order to have it. Even the people who are in the hospital, we have planned to give them the solution 2 days in a week. But because of the demanding of the people, we give every day.
Demand for the locally made concoction is higher compared to supply.
Le stock est épuisé pour le moment, si c'est pour le produit de Monseigneur Cleda.
And so, to access a bottle of the solution, it is required that a patient be COVID positive. For now, the COVID solution has no name, but its results on the field are well known.
We have two cans of the bottle, a small one for the people who start just to have signs, and the big one is for the people who have many problems and some cases more difficult. And for the small bottle, we give 15 grams 3 times a day, and the big bottle we use a teaspoonful 2 times a day.
Testimonies on the effectiveness of the Cleda solution are many and will keep growing as the concoction reaches new grounds.
Prime Minister Joseph Diangute today had a farewell audience with the Korean ambassador to Cameroon, Bok Ayol-Ryu, who has come to the end of her mission in the country. The meeting permitted the two parties to review the state of relations between Yaoundé and Seoul and to highlight progress made over the past 2 years. During the mandate of the outbound Korean diplomat, relations between the two countries were enriched with the creation of a Center for Korean Studies at the International Relations Institute of Cameroon, IRIC, as well as the inauguration of the National Institute for Vocational Training. Prime Minister Joseph Diangute reassured the departing diplomat that Cameroon will continue to nurture and cherish the relations with the Republic of Korea. As the June 1 reopening date draws near, parents have begun preparing their children to resume classes in less than 5 days amidst the COVID-19 virus. Our reporter Alice Mbe visited some homes in Yaoundé to find out the state of readiness of both parents and students and brought back the following story.
Few days to school resumption, parents are already inspecting their children's belongings to ensure the presence of COVID-19 preventive kits. Worried about the upsurge of the virus in Cameroon, Ako Melvis is making sure her children have all it takes to stay away from contamination.
We are all scared to send our children back to school regarding the situation, but we will make sure to respect the measures put in place by the government. All we've been doing just to advise them to wear their masks. We make sure we buy them hand sanitizers, and as they go out, we advise them not just to respect distances. They should not go closer to their friends, and whenever they want to eat, they make sure they clean their hands. As per the school material, it's true they are still intact, just to go and stretch back. So by the end of this week, they will have to rearrange everything back.
Margaret Takan, on her part, double as parent and proprietress of a private institution, is also watching out against the disease.
And I have 2 or 3 children here who are also going to school. They are ready with their uniforms, with their face masks, with their hand sanitizers. Everybody has it. The children know that they put their face masks on for most of the time, and when they feel as if they have been wearing it for a long time, they take it off a little bit. We have told them they take it off a little bit and put it back. And in class, I have told the teachers that they stay in front 2 meters from the first desk. The children know that there will be no break for them to go out. Everybody stays in the classroom and in the corridors, and every child is supposed to bring their snack from home.
To stay away from the disease, government distancing and hygiene prescribed measures are still the magic keys against the deadly COVID-19 pandemic.
You're watching the 7:30 news on the Cameroon Radio Television, the CRTV. We are beaming live from Yaoundé. The Ministry of Secondary Education has been strategizing on methods and mechanisms of reinforcing prevention measures of COVID-19 and HIV/AIDS in the school milieu. Speaking as she chaired a national capacity building workshop for education stakeholders and partners, Professor Nalova Leonga reassured that all is set for the special resumption of classes come June 1, 2020. To make assurance double sure, the secondary education bus visited some schools in Yaoundé to assess the level of readiness for the June 1 resumption date. Gerard Nanjie Yambe reports.
Ensuring coronavirus-free classes from June the 1st will require that teachers and students alike adapt to a behavioral change. The Ministry of Secondary Education is ready to see this implemented.
The children should come from home armed with their masks as well as their snacks, because no canteen will be open in any school. They will be able to eat in their classrooms or in front of their classrooms. Secondly, they have to ensure that the children are washing hands. They will be able to have orientation in the various classes.
This is the reason behind the capacity building seminar for personnel and partners of the secondary education sector on COVID-19 and HIV/AIDS prevention in schools. The Cameroon National Association for Family Welfare, CAMNA4, has expressed their undying determination to accompany the government in this campaign. Health experts have recommended continuous surveillance to check the spread of the COVID-19. Meanwhile, during a tour of Lycée Général Leclerc and Marif Secondary School Kolfulu, the management was instructed to beef up their hygiene and sanitation to bar the way to the virus on the campuses.
And now this good news from some prospective teachers in the 7:30 news for tonight. The list of some 3,000 newly recruited teachers under a joint World Bank Cameroon government program is to be validated by the Prime Minister of the Republic and made public in the days ahead. At a press briefing in Yaoundé today, Basic Education Minister Laurent Serge Etundingoa said preference in the recruitment exercise will be given to older candidates and those who will be posted to their towns and regions of origin. Luma Slim Davis reports on this mouth-watering news.
The basic education sector has over a long period of time experienced difficulties. Amongst these difficulties is the lack of teachers, especially in the rural areas. The World Bank, through the support program for reform in the education sector, in collaboration with the Cameroon government, is carrying out the recruitment of 3,000 teachers.
When you want to be recruited at the public service, you have a number of certificate, official papers you have to fulfill for the recruitment to be validated, and you will be guided for the next step.
These newly recruited teachers, aged between 25 and 40 years, will be spread out in the 10 regions of the country. This exercise, with women occupying 60% of the offer, is expected to stabilize the teaching sector.
The file they will build up have to follow some steps before you have an official contract validated. So this will happen when quite some time you are already in service somewhere and you have your certificate of services who will be issued by the services of the Ministry of Basic Education.
The 3,000 teachers retained possess the required professional diplomas and have to show proof of the willingness to accept all recruitment agreements.
The Department of Civil Protection in the Ministry of Territorial Administration has swung into an all-out sensitization campaign to take the anti-COVID-19 barrier measures closer to the people. Their prime targets are markets, schools, and other crowd-pulling events where the barrier measures, anti-WHO hygiene and sanitation protocols are being treated with characteristic indifference and disdain. Joyce Tata was with the caravan at the Madagascar and Melen markets in Yaoundé, where the 5-day campaign began, and brought back the story.
Portez bien vos masques, s'il vous plaît. On le met ici. Au-dessus, voilà, c'est comme ça. Et nous apprenons aux gens à porter les masques.
Wednesday at the Madagascar market in Yaoundé, a team from the Department of Civil Protection moves around educating both buyers and sellers not to derail from barrier measures against COVID-19.
To be close to the population, to explain them the benefit of wearing mask, of washing hands, and some other benefit so that they can be protected against COVID.
After the exchange, the vendors react positively. They put on the sensitization T-shirts to better convey the anti-COVID-19 message further afield. The Civil Protection team says the same exercise will be carried out at bus stations, schools in and out of Yaoundé in the days ahead. A message well understood by the target population on the very first day of the sensitization campaign launched by the Department of Civil Protection at the Ministry of Territorial Administration, with many voicing out their deepest cry.
Corona, go back home indeed. And traditional rulers of Bamenda have received anti-COVID-19 kits to assist in its efforts to stem the spread of the disease in that part of in their respective fandoms. The donation ceremony was presided over by Northwest Governor Adolphe Lele Lafrique, as Karine Tosam now tells us from CRTV Northwest.
The efforts to kick COVID-19 out of the Northwest region have just been redoubled. Traditional rulers drawn from 8 fondoms in Bamenda have received anti-COVID-19 equipment to enable them carry the fight to their fondoms. The gifts from the President of the Republic was accompanied by a warning to those who fail to respect government measures.
We are now entered the phase of community contaminations, meaning that we should, more than ever before, observe those measures to prevent each of us to be agent of contamination of our neighbors.
The 7 fonds and 1 lamido drawn from Mankon, Bamendankwe, Songwa and Chomba, amongst others, say the gesture of the head of state will enable them to tour all the localities of their fondoms with sensitization messages.
We advise people to wear their face masks. We advise people to drink warm water.
The event also witnessed the donation of anti-COVID-19 kits to the regional delegates of secondary and basic education to help them as they prepare for school resumption.
Let me now take you over to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center, where Gilbert Ongeni is standing by with updates on the COVID-19 situation in Cameroon today. With him is Dr. Menduga Korali, who is in charge of results management at the center. Hello, Gilbert. Tell me, what news is breaking out there this evening?
Hello, Ben Menopufong. Welcome to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center here at the Mesa neighborhood in Yaoundé. What I must say at the moment is that statistics on the number of deaths, recoveries, and new cases are still to get to us. The officials here are still compiling those statistics. I'm certain that during the 8:30 p.m. news in the French language, you get those figures. Well, Dr. George Alain Etundi Mbala, in the press briefing, which he heard a while ago, talked of the fact that Cameroon has crossed the threshold of 5,000 cases, and this figure puts Cameroon on the 7th spot on the African continent of the number of countries which are most affected by the coronavirus, a figure that is enough proof for us to pound the alarm bell, the warning bell that Cameroonians should sit up when it comes to respecting the barrier measures in order to put an end to the propagation of the coronavirus. He also talked about some false notions related to the coronavirus. Some persons in the neighborhoods there who say if you take alcohol, you are going to be, you get immune, you will not be infected by the coronavirus. He said that's a false notion. Another false notion is the fact that if you take antibiotics, it could prevent you from having coronavirus. The medical experts here say that that is false because antibiotics cure bacteria, not viruses. So you could complicate matters by creating resistance in your system. So some of those false notions that have to be banished from our midst. And he talked too about the fact that those who are most vulnerable are people who are diabetic and hypertensive. And it is false to think that or believe that youths are not vulnerable to the disease. Now we have our guest tonight, Dr. Menduga Korali, who's a medical doctor. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Now we're talking about the handling of corpses. You know, when people die from the coronavirus, the WHO measures are quite restrictive. Are there no way of softening these measures to adapt them to our local realities?
Okay, thank you. Actually, in Cameroon, when a person dies from coronavirus 19, his burial should take place in the latest 12 hours after death, in the presence of the council personnel and the close family. So we can see that those measures look very restrictive. Now, the Scientific Council in MinSanté is working on how to soften those measures in order to better accompany the families in the pain process.
Now let's talk about the cost of burial. We know that burial is supposed to be taken care of by the government, the Ministry of Decentralization and Local Development. But some families complain that health officials ask exorbitant amount of money from them to bury their family members. What's your take on that?
In Cameroon, there is an instruction of the Ministry of Decentralization and Local Development signed on the 22nd of April, I think, which organizes the burial of those persons in Cameroon. And those recommendations say that no fees should be paid by any family for burial, actually in Cameroon.
It looks like the reality on the ground is different between the text and what happens on the ground.
No. I think there is a confusion. Families can pay their own coffin if they think that the coffin which is given by the council is not good for them. That's the only way to pay something.
Thank you very much, Dr. Menduga Korali, our guest tonight. Well, Ben Menopufong, that's a bit we put together today at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. Back to you, studio.
Thank you very much, Gilbert Ongene, for those updates. And the one watchword is for Cameroonians to continue respecting the barrier measures. We continue this newscast now in the world of culture, where ministers in charge of culture in Africa have been discussing ways to limit the negative impact of the COVID-19 on the sector that has been hard hit by the outbreak of the pandemic. The virtual forum organized by the African Union has been described as timely, given that all cultural activities from cinema, concerts, festivals and more have been cancelled until further notice. From Nigeria to Zambia, through Algeria to Cameroon, the culture ministers have resolved to focus their energy on artistic creation and, like one man, join the sensitization and promote the use of African medicine. Emmanuel Avame has the details of that conference.
A one-time vibrant cultural sector with everything to show for, from concerts to festivals and red carpet events, today gone dead. Close to 3 months already that COVID-19 uninvitedly broke out, cancelling all cultural events in Africa. Its impacts weigh so heavily that arts and culture ministers of Africa are uniting their effort for a way out through this virtual forum.
The anti-COVID-19 measures have hindered cultural events, provoking a serious loss in revenue for our artists. We had to involve all the 24 cultural disciplines in the country in a vast campaign against the pandemic.
Problems common to a continent that attaches real importance to her culture. The African Union Commission, through this initiative, wants to mitigate such impacts. United towards a common fight, they are resolved to concentrate on the creative industry like fashion and design for the production of face masks, while giving the African pharmacopy its place.
We came up with more than 15 molecules that can help in the healing of COVID-19. To call the African specialists to come and give the formulas that are required for the treatment of and prevention of COVID-19. I think COVID-19 has come to prove the importance of African medicine.
The African continent remains culturally awake, even as the coronavirus dictates the tone.
Cameroon's Minister of Forestry and Wildlife and the Director General of the Wood Sector Group of Cameroon have been discussing challenges that have been confronting the sector even long before the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic. The head of the wood sector briefed the minister on some of the COVID-19-induced impact on the sector and outlined proposals that can help salvage the sector from total collapse. And in continuation of our series on the automated toll gates in Cameroon tonight, we look at the specifications of the structure. The road infrastructure will integrate a communication system for users and will put an end to the handling of fiscal cash at the toll gates by workers. Joyce Kimbi Fowajo tells us how.
The simplified model on how the new automated toll gates will look like. Infrastructures that will integrate a communication system towards users and will allow the implementation of payment by subscription or prepaid cards. These new automated toll plazas will integrate a 50 meters wide long platform with lane divider islands, a metal canopy, 50-meter long bays on both sides of the platform, 14 operation buildings and a center for operations and maintenance and Bankomo. There is also a 4,000 meters square parking and shopping areas overall. But what becomes of the current toll gate workers?
The project will generate more employment for Cameroonians, and the people that are currently employed on the site will be able to be trained to be employed in the new functions that will be necessary in what the project will implement. For example, as you know, under the project there will be commercial centers, parkings, and other areas where even if the process is automatized, you always need people on the site to conduct certain functions.
It's certainly a true revolution for the Cameroon's road landscape that will yield over 300 direct jobs.
Now on to this obituary. The death has been announced of one of Cameroon's most vocal politicians and pioneer chartered accountant and statesman, Mola Njo Litumbe. Family sources say he died on Tuesday afternoon in a hospital in Douala. CRTV Boyers Kange William Wasaloko profiles the departed patriarch and erudite politician.
A dark cloud hovers around Membia House in Boya, the residence of the foreign statesman Moranjo Litumbe, after family sources confirm that the refined Anglo-Saxon-trained pioneer Cameroonian chartered accountant and politician gave up the ghost at about 2 p.m. Tuesday in Douala. Born some 94 years ago in Boya, Moranjo Litumbe is of the 1941 batch of the renowned St. Joseph College, Sase. After his secondary education, Moranjo Litumbe benefited from a scholarship to study accounting in England. He returned in 1957 as Cameroon's pioneer qualified chartered accountant. His native land, however, became too small for him to operate and flew to Nigeria, where he was embraced by Africa's pioneer qualified chartered accountant, Sir Akintola Williams. As a development partner, Moranjo Litumbe was responsible for the setting up of the accounting firm in Africa. The threat caused by the Nigerian Biafra War forced him to return home and set up the Cameroon branch of Akintola Williams Chartered Accountants. This accounting firm became an incubator for most senior accountants today. Upon retirement, Moranjo Litumbe tried his hands in politics with the creation of the Liberal Democratic Party, LDP, in the 90s, which later fused with the National Democratic Party of Ambassador Fossong to become the Liberal Democratic Alliance, LDA. This political party, of course, was short-lived. Moranjo Litumbe therefore spent the later part of his retirement as an advocate for the Southern Cameroon National Council, NCNC. Unfortunately, he leaves the stage without the imaginary independence they clamored for. May his soul rest in peace.
The management of Shana's Assurance says the company's records are satisfactory following a meeting with shareholders and at their ordinary general assembly. Speaking to the press, the board chair, Maurice Matanga, also explained that the case between the company and some individuals has been dismissed by the Supreme Court. Scholar Maloke tells us more from Douala.
This press conference, which came on the heels of the Ordinary General Assembly meeting of the Board of Directors of Shana's Assurance SR, was organized for a purpose.
We wanted to give more details and information and clarification about the decision taken by the Supreme Court, because after that decision, it was important, due to what we have been facing last year, to give more, to clarify the opinion, to assure our partners that we feel able, we are comfortable to carry on our duties.
He also said, though the Supreme Court has dismissed the case, it doesn't mean that it is the end.
Those people did some things which are not right. We have taken measures in order to go to court so that they should be punished.
According to the board chair, in spite of the case that led to the interruption of the activities for some days in November 2019, Shana's Assurance SR by December 31, 2019 was able to realize its objectives for the year.
It was at November, December. It is at that period that we have to renew the insurance. We have clients who rely on us, who had confidence with us, and they continue to follow us. And we are there. The top management has a task to give them to work on and to satisfy our clients. The result of the year closed on the 31st of December 2019. The results are good and better than the one on 2018.
Shana's Assurance SR, which has as major shareholder the state of Cameroon, represented by the National Hydrocarbons Company, SNH, is one of the leading insurance companies in the country.
Our time is up. Thanks for yours. Let's do it all over again tomorrow. Good night.
CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.